Hello everyone, it's Jonathan here, founder of Driving Academy, and in today's video we're going to be going over our new bus that we just purchased and going through a pre-trip inspection. If you have the opportunity to take a test with our school, you are going to be using this bus. So it's very important that you make sure you pay attention to this video itself, because this is going to be helping you out if you're a student of ours. Also, if you're looking to get yourself a CDL Class B with passenger endorsement and you're in the New Jersey, New York, or Pennsylvania area, we're here to help you out, and this video is definitely going to help you. If you do need more help about getting the pre-trip training done, or maybe you want to get yourself a CDL license from scratch, I want you to give us a call below, 908-525-3609. We're located in Linden, New Jersey, and we're able to help out students no matter what part of the country you're from. So if you have any questions about getting a CDL, give us a call, 908-525-3609. So let's get started on the pre-trip inspection for the CDL Class B with passenger endorsement. Alright, so as we're getting started, one thing I want to start with is going to be underneath the hood. Now, there's no specific order on where you have to start. You're going to listen to the examiner, and the examiner is going to say, hey, I want you to do the full inspection, I want you to do a portion of the inspection, and you can kind of go at your own pace and go with what you're going with. But right now, since the hood's already open, let's just start inside the engine itself. So, if you come close to the engine, we're going to have a few things to point out. First thing is right here is going to be our oil level. So oil level, this is our dipstick. We can only check this when the engine is off. It must be in safe operating range and above the refill mark. Over here, we're going to have our power steering fluid. Right here is our dipstick right here. So we pull that out. It must be in safe operating range, also above the refill mark itself, right? We're also going to be checking all of our hoses. So all of our hoses on this side seem to be in good condition and not leaking. And as we look on the floor, including with the hoses, we're going to make sure that there is no puddles on the ground, there is no dripping fluid on the underside of the engine or transmission. Now we're going to start going into the different components of this engine in particular. Now every engine is a little bit different, but you're going to have to mention these components when you take your truck for the test. So this piece right here is going to be your air compressor. So my air compressor is going to be gear driven in this vehicle, which means there is no belt attached to it. It's operating properly, it is not damaged or leaking, and it is mounted securely. Next, we're going to have our power steering pump. So if we follow this thick hose all the way down there behind the frame, which it's very hard to see, it's going to be our power steering pump. It's also going to be gear driven because there is no belt attached to it. It is operating properly, not damaged or leaking, and mounted securely. Also on the driver's side of this vehicle, we are going to talk about our power steering box. So right here is our power steering box. It is securely mounted, it's not losing any nuts or bolts, and all my hoses coming to and from the power steering box are not leaking and they are in good condition. Next, we're going to have our steering linkage. Our steering linkage consists of three parts: my arm, or my pitman arm, my link, or my drag link, and my tie rod, which is going to be going one bar connecting one tire to the other. So my arm, link, and rod are not worn or cracked. My joints and sockets are not worn or loose, and there's no missing nuts, bolts, or cotter keys. And that pretty much completes everything on this side of the engine. Let's go to the passenger side of the engine before we move on to the tires or suspension or anything like that. So now that we're on the passenger side of the engine, now we're going to check in two more items here. We're going to check our coolant level. So right here is where we check our coolant level. If this is kind of a clearer plastic, so you can kind of check it, but if you cannot see it through the plastic itself, which means you can't inspect the sight glass, you would have to wait till the engine is off and engine is not hot to remove the radiator cap and check from the top, right? Has to be in safe operating range as well. Over here is going to be your alternator. So my alternator is going to be belt driven. It is going to be operating properly, it is not damaged or leaking, and it is also mounted securely. My alternator belt has no more than 3/4 inch of play at the center of the belt, has no cracks or frays, and is free from any kinds of wears, is not worn or tear at all. And then if we follow this thick hose, this hose is going to lead us to the water pump. The water pump is going to be on the passenger side of this engine, and it is going to be belt driven since you see a belt attached to it. So my water pump is operating properly. It is not damaged or leaking, and it is mounted securely. My water pump belt has no more than 3/4 inch of play, no cracks or frays. It has also no signs of wear or tear on the belt itself. And that's pretty much the whole engine itself. Now when you come to this side, you also want to check for hoses on this side. So all my hoses on this side are in good condition and they are also not leaking. And that is your engine. So from your engine now we're going to go into the suspension, the brakes, and the tires itself. Alright, so now let's go into the brakes, tires and suspension. So we're going to start off with the suspension of this vehicle first. So right here we're going to have our leaf springs. So our leaf springs cannot be missing, shifted, cracked, or broken. We're going to have our spring hangers. One is going to be on the front, one's going to be on the back. A simple way to remember what they're called is going to be, this is what your spring is hanging on. So your spring hanger. They are mounted securely, not cracked or broken. Over here is going to be your U-bolts. Your U-bolts cannot be broken, loose, or missing any bolts. And then over here we're going to have our shock absorber. So our shock absorber has to be mounted securely. It cannot be leaking. And the bushings that are on the top and the bottom of the shock absorber cannot be broken or missing. And all my mounts are secured to the vehicle frame and or axle. It's very important that you say that part because we have to know what these things are secured to. From there we're going to go into the brakes. Now when we get into the brakes, there's going to be 5 brake items that you must talk about. So over here we're going to have our slack adjuster and push rod. So my slack adjuster and push rod are not cracked or broken, loose, missing any parts. Cannot move more than 1 inch with the brakes released when pulled by hand. Over here is going to be our brake chamber. Our brake chamber is not cracked, dented, or leaking. And the clamps cannot be missing and they are securely mounted as well. Over here we have our brake hoses, lines, and couplings. So these are the hoses, this is the line, and the couplings are where they connect right there. So my brake hoses, lines, and couplings cannot be cracked, worn, or leaking. So that's 3 out of the 5 items that we talked about so far. As we back up closer from the outside view, on the inside of this tire, which we're not going to be able to see, is going to be your drum brake, which is this right over here. So my drum brake cannot be cracked or broken, has to be free from any contaminants such as oil, debris, or grease, and it cannot be broken, loose, or missing any bolts. On the inside of the drum brake, you're also going to have your brake lining. So your brake lining cannot be worn dangerously thin wherever you can see it. So that covers all 5 parts of the brakes itself. Now every single axle is going to have all 5 parts. You might not be able to see those brakes in the back, but you still have to talk about them. Next we're going to have our tire itself. So let's work our way from the top down. So this is our tire, this is our steering axle. So steering axle we're going to have no less than 4/32 of an inch in tread depth. My tread is evenly worn. There's no cuts or damage to the tread or to the sidewall of the tire itself. My rim itself is not illegally welded. Everything's in good condition here. Then we're going to be going into our lug nuts. So our lug nuts are all present. They are all mounted securely. There's no signs of looseness such as rust trails or shiny treads, and my bolt holes are not distorted. Over here we're going to have our hub seal. Our hub seal is mounted securely, it's not leaking, and it's filled to adequate level. Over here we're going to have our valve cap and stem. So our valve cap and stem, cap is on tight and it is secure and there is no leaks. And it's very important that we also check the tire pressure on this tire. This tire should have anywhere from 90 to 100 psi. So that's pretty much completes the suspension, brakes, and tires of this vehicle itself. Like I said, that same inspection has to be done on every single tire that you do see, whether it's back or front. All right, so now we're going to close the hood and we're going to go from the front and move our way over. So this is a school bus. We're going to be going over the different lights that you're going to need to go over in a bus or a school bus. So if you're just checking the bus itself, if you're going for just your passenger endorsement, you just have to talk about those clearance lights up top. Those 3 clearance lights are amber in color, clean, and functional. Over here we're going to have our stopping lights, our amber and red stopping lights. Those lights you would only discuss if these are your school bus. They are red and amber in color, and they are also clean and functional. We're going to go drop down to our windshield wipers. Our wipers, arms and blades are secure, and they are operating smoothly. As we come down here, any mirrors that you see, our mirrors and mirror brackets are secure and no loose fittings itself. Our turn signals and headlights are all clean and functional and of the proper color. Our turn signals are amber and our headlights are clear. And then as I'm looking in the front, I don't see any puddles on the ground. And because this is a bus, we have to make sure that the bus is sitting level from the front itself, right? So follow me down the side of the driver's side. So we already talked about everything in the engine. We also talked about the tire. We're going to have to mention this mirror itself. So the mirrors and mirror brackets are secure, not broken, and no loose fittings itself. Over here we're going to have our door. So our door is supposed to open and close properly. It is in the lock position open-wise, right? So we'll open and close properly from the outside. The hinges are secure and the seal is intact. When it comes to our steps are secure. They're clear objects and they are solid. So it's extremely important that we check that. As we're coming along through here, over here we're going to have our fuel. So our fuel cap is on tightly and connected securely. My tank is also connected securely, and there's no leaks from the tank or the lines itself. So as we close that off, we're going to come back here. Any reflective tape that we see is going to be clean and functional. Any clearance lights that we see or reflectors are also going to be clean and functional itself. Now under this bus is going to be a few different things. So under this bus we're going to have our frame. It's very hard to see from here. So our frame member, cross member, box and floor cannot have any holes, or damage, and has to be secure. Underneath here as well, we're going to have our drive shaft. Our drive shaft is going to be a very thick bar underneath there, and that's what actually turns the whole. That's what turns your back tires to actually drive. That gives the power from the engine to your actual steering, to your drive tires, I should say. And that we have to say it is mounted securely. It's not cracked, and the couplings are free from foreign objects. And back there, underneath here as well, we're also going to have our exhaust. So our exhaust is connected tightly. It is mounted securely. There's no signs of leaks such as rust or carbon soot, right? So those are the three items we're going to have to talk about underneath the bus. A lot of people forget about them because they don't even see them, right? So as we move back to these back tires here, it's going to be everything that we talked about there. So we're going to have suspension, brakes, and tires. I'm going to mention the things that are on this back axle that are not on the front axle, so then we don't have to repeat it too much. So over here you're going to see that the tread depth is going to be different. The tread depth is going to be 2/32 of an inch. In the front it was 4/32 of an inch. Over here we're going to have two tires, which means that we're going to need a spacer or bud spacer to separate these two tires. So in this case we're going to have bud spacers. Our bud spacers are evenly centered, the tires are evenly separated, and they're not bent, damaged, or rusted through. Back over here, this piece in the center is called an axle seal. So my axle seal is not leaking and is filled to adequate level. In the front, it was called a hub seal itself, right? Let's come back to the suspension itself. So, and the suspension is going to be very hard to see on this vehicle. That's why I kind of want to point out to you. On the back axle, we're going to have leaf springs just like we had in the front. We're going to have airbags or air ride suspension, which is those black bags over there. So for that, you're going to have to say my airbags are secure and not leaking or damaged, right? We're going to have our shock absorbers. You know exactly what to say for that. And we're going to have all three mounts, which means you're going to have your spring hangers, you're going to have your bushings, and you are going to have your U-bolts as well. So make sure you mention all those mounts. And when it comes to the brakes on this vehicle, you cannot see any of them from this point of view. But how many do we have? 5. If you said 4, I want you to put a comment that said I said 4. And then everyone's going to mess you up. But you'll never make that mistake again. So how many brake items again? 5. Don't forget that part. Alright, so as we move forward, any kind of reflector that we see, red, clean, and functional. We're going to come around to the back, and we're going to finish our inspection over here. For the back itself, same type of thing with lights. We're going to work our way from the top down. So those red clearance lights are clean and functional. If you're going for a school bus endorsement, then you talk about the amber and red stopping lights. They are also clean and functional. If you're not going for the school bus, you don't mention those. And then you're going to come all the way down here. So you're going to have reverse lights are clear, clean and functional. Stop lights and turn signal lights, clean and functional. License plates lights are clean and functional as well. Now from here, we're also going to open and close the door. So the door opens and closes properly from the outside. The hinges are secure and the seal is intact. Also from the back of the vehicle, we are going to have to make sure that it is sitting level because we want to make sure we don't hear any audible air leaks. Now the only difference on the passenger side is going to be the battery box. So let me show you what that looks like. On the passenger side, the only difference is going to be the battery box itself. Everything else is going to be exactly the same that we did on the driver's side. So the battery box, the door opens and closes properly from the outside. My batteries are secure. Cell caps are present. There's no excessive corrosion on the batteries itself. And everything seems to be working properly. And that's pretty much it. So before you do anything else, stop, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you need any extra training, you already know what to do. Give us a call, 908-525-3609. Here at Driving Academy, we're able to test you and train you In a vehicle just like this, if you're looking to get yourself a CDL Class B license with passenger endorsement, or if you want to drive school buses as well, here we can help you out with all of that information. If you want more of that and you want to know how much it costs for our training packages, give us a call, 908-525-3609. We're probably one of the few schools around, if not the only school, that can actually guarantee that we get your license. And how do we do that? We're actually going to give you over 100 hours of training, and we're going to take you to the test unlimited times until you pass. After you are guaranteed to get your license, we're also going to help you out find a job. Why would you want to find a job? Because you want to start making money driving on open roads just like this. So this is Jonathan from the Linden location. If you are interested, give us a call just like that sign says, 908-525-3609. Or if you want to take a virtual school tour, click on the link below, cdldrivingacademy.com/tour. If you're looking to get a CDL license, there's no better place to go. We're here to get you on the road to freedom. Let's get you rocking and rolling. Thanks.